All right, home service pros, welcome to the Battle Plan Marketing Podcast, episode number 170. And it's also episode one of our new Plumber HVAC Dominance Series. Today, special guest on the show, one of the greatest minds, sharpest minds in the biz, t.howard. At last count, he owns or partners several HVAC companies, doing about 8 figures a year, serves VP, also as VP of Customer Experience at ServiceTitan.
Well,
Literally,
one of them's doing 9 figures a year.
what's that?
One of them's doing 9 figures a year, one of the air conditioning companies.
9 figures. Well, that was worth interrupting for.
I'm sorry.
9 figures a year. You hit the 9-figure club. Also serving as VP of Customer Experience for ServiceTitan, literally wrote the book on scaling service businesses with fetching millions, out now. Tom's built his career on buying, growing, and selling companies, all while mentoring teams to think like owners, sharing equity, tying bonuses to performance, teaching financials with radical transparency. His philosophy: leave your ego at the door, build leaders, let them flourish. And he's not stopping there. Tom's all in on the AI revolution, using AI to increase efficiencies, enhance customer experience. Get ready for a masterclass in acquisitions, leadership, and the future of the trades. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Nice. Thanks for coming back. For those who don't know, he was on episode 123, got some great nuggets back then. So once you love this show, go back and listen to 123. All right, Tom, you got Fetching Millions out. What prompted you to write it? Was there a turning point in your life that said, I need to share this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, when we were actually in the middle of the deal, I thought, wow, this could be pretty cool. I better start writing notes down. So I started writing it actually halfway through the process. With the deal, it was a bunch of us came together. We got some equity in some companies, and we put it together, built it, and sold it in 16 months.
Wow.
And got a plan. We wanted a 12-month, stint of how fast can we grow a company in 12 months.
Wow.
Like the buying time and the selling time and that kind of stuff. It was 16 months total. So honestly, I thought we were going to hit like 2.5 million of EBITDA in that 12 months. And that would have been cool. And so I should write about that and tell people how we did it. And honestly, like I even wanted to post the financials and everything so you could see exactly how much we spent on each thing per month. Unfortunately, there's non-disclosure agreements in place that
Sure.
people have chosen to enforce, so I'm not allowed to do that. On the next one, I'm going to make sure to make a point that, hey, I'm not going to sign those NDAs when we sell the next one, so I can actually post what the financials were exactly.
Make a case
Anyway,
study out of it. Nice.
yeah, bottom line is we went to a lot more than 2 million of EBITDA in that 16 months. And it sold for a lot more than I expected. So the story became even better. And there were a bunch of things along the way that made it really fun and interesting. There's a great book called The Messy Middle.
Yeah.
It's a guy who started a company called Behance, and he sold it to Adobe, I believe. And I think he sold it for like 180 million or something like that.
Wheat.
Yeah, and he said, "Hey, everyone hears about how I started a company from nothing and grew it and sold it for 180 million." And he said, "No one realizes that I almost went bankrupt multiple times, all the problems and all the issues and everything else."
Right.
And so with Fetching Millions, I decided, it's all about the story of Fetch Attack, which is why it's called Fetching Millions. And I wanted people to know about the heartbreaks we had and the problems we had and the tough times we went through. And it was really interesting. And so the story was, really cool.
Was this the first company or group of companies that you bought with the intention to sell, Tom?
No, I've bought and sold companies. I've sold,
I thought so.
I own part of the California Autism Center and sold that. I've owned, things with my former brother-in-law and former sister-in-law. We had a, eyelash company that were, manufacturing eyelashes in China and shipping them to the US and selling. We got to thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of units per month in sales. which times the, $14.20, I think, per thing that we were selling for. It was it was pretty cool. I have several air conditioning and plumbing shops now. Um, I'll be selling my second large one here in the next, few months. So, yeah, I always buy them, fix them, sell them. Some people like flipping houses. I think,
Right.
I'm not good at that, but I'm better at flipping companies.
So you got your playbook. So you had partners on this one, this recent flip here?
100%. That was a team effort. So we had, um, let's see, like several people on the team: Brent Buckley, Jerry Finney, Dennis Thompson, Dan Antonelli, Colin Hathaway, and Trevor Flanagan. Um, if you know any of those names,
I know
they're
some of those names, yeah. So you
most.
had some, experts in different spectrums of the business right there.
Yeah, I was just the guy that brought them all together and got them in the same spot and put that together. So I didn't own. There were three of us that were tied for largest shareholders in the company, and I was one of those. But the reality is, I owned way less than 50%, and because all those guys had equity, and we, yeah, put it together and ran. And quite
Super.
frankly, it's one of the reasons I think it did so successful because everyone was on the same team and everyone was, moving in the same direction.
And you guys have worked together for years and trusted sources, trusted people.
Yeah, I mean, we actually hadn't worked together for years. Two of them, Trevor Flanagan and Colin Hathaway, I'd known for a while, but I had consulted for Colin in the past. And Trevor, I just known as a friend for a couple of years. Jerry Finney, maybe a year, maybe at the time, year and a half. And then Dennis and Brent, I had never met. But I had the other sources that told me how good they were. So we put them together and it just made sense.
Nice. So is Fetching Millions your blueprint on how you turn this company around here, Tom?
It's not necessarily, I wouldn't call it a blueprint because with blueprint, it's like, this is all you need. And if you just
Yeah.
read the blueprints, you can build the whole house. But I think
Framework.
millions, if you've got the basics of, hey, I can operate a business, I know how to make payroll, I know how to advertise a little bit and that kind of stuff. I think Fetching Millions gives you a lot of insights into the other things you can do to help scale your business more quickly and turn it. And it doesn't matter if you're selling or not. It matters about getting profitable and either holding it for cash flow purposes or deciding to sell it or giving it to your kids or whatever you want to do,
Right.
whatever your exit plan is, or doing an ESOP and making it a employee owned operation, whatever
Nice.
you want to do, making it stronger, growing it. Um, I think every business owner has a moral imperative
Yeah.
to grow their business. If they don't, then you have a bunch of employees that all want to have growth in their lives,
Right.
development, and personal progress. And you've built a place that offers them none of that
Right.
because you won't grow.
Yeah. Good point. You won't hold those people either, or none of the good ones anyway.
No, the good ones are going to get up and go. And the reality is you quit your business. You quit whatever company you were working for because
Right.
you wanted personal growth and freedom and development to go. And that's why you started yours. And now you are expecting people to work for you and not want the same things you did. That's really hypocritical. And that's why I say you have a moral imperative to grow your business.
Yeah. I agree with that. Exactly. What was the company doing? Can you even talk those numbers, Tom? What was it doing? Top line revenue before you bought it,
Yeah,
and then why did you buy it? What stood out?
sure. It was 11 million in annual revenue with the three companies combined. We bought three companies. We
I
bought them for
see.
$0. They were all losing money. Um, it's different when you go into a company and they're making money and you want to rig some deal where you get it for free.
Right.
Truth is, with ours, each one of them individually was losing money. One of them was losing $9,000 a day when we acquired it.
Jeez.
So we had a $1 million net loss on the um, total of the three companies. It was
Annually.
$1 million of revenue. By the end of it, we actually acquired a fourth. That was a small company, like under 2 million in sales, but we used cash from the earnings of the company to go buy the fourth company. By the end of it, we had 25 million in revenue, and we put $6 million to the bottom line. I don't want to give away the book, but that's what it is in the end.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. So, what were they just super inefficient and blowing a lot of money on marketing or something?
No, so every business is different. That's why the hard part is people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, just what do I need to do in my business to be successful?" I'm like, "Dude, if there's one silver bullet to be successful,
Right.
it would we wouldn't be having this conversation." Um, and all of us would be uber successful. The reality is each one of them had something different. One of them, I won't say which company had which, but one of them had like 11 CSRs and dispatchers on 6 million of revenue.
Whoa.
Like, guys, what are you doing? Get a a GM, 3 people in finance, all that other stuff for 6 million revenue. One of them had a
Hmm.
woman working there that was formerly a GM in another company that was having yoga on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock.
Yoga
Go
Wednesdays.
in and they would have all the phones shut off, and
Oh
they
my
just put a
god.
voicemail at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday
No way.
and whatever. And
Wow.
we had another guy that was literally showing up to work late at 11 a.m. as an installer, and he said, "I was up all night doing side work, like, get off." Like, that was his excuse for not
Great excuse.
work
Yeah.
because he was doing side work all night. We had another lady that was giving out cash incentives
Uh,
at will whenever she felt like it, out of, like, petty cash out of a drawer that she had in her office,
wow.
just handing out money. And by the way, to one of uh, her husband basically was
Sure.
and she
Sure.
was to him as a cash bonus. And it was just, like, daily, like, whatever she felt like giving someone money. And it was not tracked, right, and it was just totally just and it was all put under, like, one thing in QuickBooks saying, like, incentives. And I it's just it was insane, the amount of
Wow.
stuff. We had they had other issues, like, one of the owners kept, you know the company was acquired, but the previous owner was still working there, and when we would make a change or the general manager would make a change, Dennis Thompson would go make a change, and Dennis seemed like he knew what he was doing, so I thought, "Well, they probably, it seems like a good idea," but then it wouldn't work, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, and then I found out that a previous owner was taking when an employee didn't like it, they would just call the previous owner, and the previous owner would say, "Oh, don't worry about it, just start it and do whatever you want." And so he couldn't get anything done. So we had all those things had to get worked out.
Yeah.
And so I wrote about all of them in the book and about how to work them out, what to do. Because I think a lot of times we talk about stuff at conferences and, we just um, can't get done what we need to get done. So, and we don't know why. And I want to write about it. This is how we did it. This is how we accomplished it. Um, and, you know, it took when we put all the companies together, we ended up having 6 finance people for a $11 million total revenue company. So,
Wow.
we immediately got rid of a few of those. I think we terminated 18 employees when we got it all together. And the reality is people sit around and say, "Oh my gosh, you went in like a hatchet man and you ruined all these jobs for all these people." I said, "No,
No.
you gotta realize at the end of the year, they were all going bankrupt. Every single
Right.
my company would have lost their job unless I went in there and did what I had to do." And
Right.
that's the hard part. I don't mind firing people when they're stealing from me, when they're doing something nasty they shouldn't be doing or whatever else. That I have no problem.
Right.
They show up to work, high on cocaine or something. I have no problem saying you're out. The one that is really, really hard is when they're working really hard, but unfortunately, due to previous poor
Yeah.
management decisions, they got hired and they shouldn't have been hired in the first place. They're
Right.
an employee. We just don't have spots for them. Those
Right.
are the hard ones to tell them, "Hey, I'm sorry, we have to, terminate your position."
Yeah. That's
So
sad.
it
That's sad.
is. And a
But
lot
it's bloat from the previous ownership. You can't keep all those people on. That's ridiculous
yeah, it's
personnel.
even worse when you were the person that made the decision to hire him. Like, I've done that before in my companies where I'm running in, there's
Oh.
like, "Oh, man, I shouldn't have hired this. We didn't grow as fast as we thought we were going to," or "We didn't, we were starting a new trade and that trade didn't work out," or whatever else. We have to let
Yeah.
them know it's painful,
Yeah.
when and a lot of times you can find spots for them in the company elsewhere, but sometimes you can't.
Right.
And in this case, many of the people that we had to terminate at Fetch-A-Tech, um, they were good people. They just the company was just bloated,
It couldn't
and
sustain it. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
couldn't sustain that. I think it was 18 people in about 1 or 2 days that we had to
Yeah.
terminate when we
Well,
got everything together.
that's sad, man. That's sad, but you saved the others, so,
Yeah, so
and it'll grow.
yeah, and you see the profitability obviously went way up and efficiency went up, and honestly, culture, it hurts. That's what I tell people. I'm like, "If you're gonna have this happen, you don't just let things go, and do it one at a time, like, 'Oh, we'll let these 2 people go today, and then next week we'll let 3 more people go, and the week after that, we'll let 2 more people go.'" Because what happens is that
Yeah.
everyone sits around thinking, "Am I next?"
Right.
Whereas if you do it all at once, yeah, it's really painful and you rip the Band-Aid off, but at least everyone knows, "Hey, I made it through. I'm here. I'm
Yep.
not losing my job. Let's focus and let's get to work." So it's just like, do it all at once. Don't do this nitpicky
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah.
Oh,
I agree with that. In the book, you talk about, sharing financials with the team and stuff, so that's a e excellent time to do it right there and then, right?
yeah,
Like, here's why we can't sustain the way we are. So if we're going to keep jobs for, half of this crew or whatever, we're going to have to make some hard choices.
yeah, I'm very explicit about that. And being transparent with everybody about your financials. I mean, if the warehouseman that sweeps the warehouse floor at Lee's Air wants to know, what the profit of the company was last month, we gladly tell him. We show him the financials if he wanted, like whatever. I don't care. Anyone in the company. Um, and I think also that's where technology comes into play, right? Is you
Mhm.
got I talked a lot about ServiceTitan in the book, and I mentioned, hey, when I did this, I was actually an employee of ServiceTitan. Um, and having that visibility, all the dashboards and everything else up all the
Right.
time, and letting
Right.
people know what your goals are. We talk about that budgeting in the book and things like that. Everyone needs to know, hey, this is what our budget is. This is where we're at. You know, I one of the tests I do with my company is if I go in and talk to my, let's say, plumbing service manager and say, what's the budget this month for revenue?
Mm.
And he says, oh, let me look it up. That's the wrong answer.
Mm.
That means we're not talking about it enough. We're not focused enough. We're not setting goals based on the budget and whatever else. So he doesn't know because I want him to know every day. So he comes in, checks the server site and dashboard, sees the goal, or not sees the goal, but sees the revenue. He knows what his budget is in his head, what he has to hit his bonus. And so he knows all the time, am I hitting it? Yes or no? Um,
I
we
like
have
it.
weekly cadences. And
So weekly updates, kind of.
Yeah, we have weekly things called financial quick checks,
I
uh,
like it.
that come in, and Ellen Rohr helped us set that all up.
Oh,
And
nice.
I've known Ellen actually works for ServiceTitan now too, but when I was younger, I read all her books and, learned everything I could about Ellen and her financials.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
recommend her book. What is it? How much should I charge? I think, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and she a lot of people don't know, she's the president of Ben Franklin Plumbing,
Right.
oldest plumbing franchise in the country, in the world, really. Um and she really knows her stuff. Well, she came in and we paid her to help us set up this financial quick check, and so it's literally every week we have our financials ready, and it's really hard because most people at the best will get their financials next month, 2 weeks into the month, right? So
Right.
if I have July financials, I won't know them until August 15th.
Right.
But we have a pretty accurate, you know,
Hmm.
uh, number of what our gross margin is, what our overhead is, all that other stuff every week. And it's like we close the books on Saturday and then the following Thursday we, look at the financial quick check. So I'm only 4 days behind. And so we can
Yeah.
make adjustments if needed instead of waiting till next month. And yeah, it's really I think that people get into, "Oh, well, I don't need technology that much because I have virtual assistants that can enter this stuff in. I don't need technology that much because we get it in pretty fast, whatever else." They don't realize the speed at which you can have it. Like with ServiceTitan just exporting everything immediately to the
Right.
financials,
Real
uh,
time.
saves the time, reduces workload. Not only that, you know how much effort it takes on management to make sure to constantly be retraining and training people to, like, do the same task over and over again because
Right.
you're having them copy paste and do whatever. It's just your company starts to get bloated.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, when the off season comes and the revenue goes down, you're
Right.
trying to keep those people around because you don't want to let them go. So you have to retrain them next year. So guess what? You got this overhead that holds. If you've got technology doing it, it's just there. It costs us way less and it can go up and down with you as your season gets higher or lower. You don't have to retrain it next season. You
Yeah.
don't have to lay them off when things get slow. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You don't have to
Yeah.
rehire. You don't like posting ads, all this HR like people have no idea how much level
Right.
of effort it takes to add a person to do that job.
Right.
They just think, oh, it's one person. They only make like 5 grand a month. And so that's not that expensive. No, it's way more expensive than that. Not just benefits and everything else, because that gets you up to 7 or 8 grand a month. Then you got all the management and level of frustration, everything on top of that. You're literally costing yourselves millions of dollars in revenue, tons of percentages in growth rates, just all kinds of things that just like you just got to streamline and get down as much
Yeah.
as you can. Have technology do the things it can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And now with AI, man, you can really make your company super efficient.
Yeah. I mean, we went from when we implemented Dispatch Pro, we went from 3 dispatchers down to one in like
Right.
literally a couple weeks. And we were going to keep those dispatchers for other things, but one of them just started getting, showing up late every day. The other one started getting really, argumentative about things. And we're like, well, I guess we just don't need them.
Jeez.
Took a while to set up Dispatch Pro. It took months and months and months. It was frustrating as heck.
Yep.
Now we've been running it and having AI doing dispatching for, gosh, a year and a half, 2 years now.
Beautiful.
And
Booking rate go up.
yeah, so it's not Dispatch Pro doesn't handle booking rate. It handles
Oh, I see. I got you.
for people. The
Right.
booking rate goes up when you start. We have a few things. We have AI booking the phone call,
Right.
and then AI is now outperforming some of our CSRs, not all of them yet, but some of our CSRs in our office
Yep.
with our AI agents. And then Dispatch Pro picks up once the call's booked. Dispatch Pro dispatches it automatically.
I see.
So we're getting to the point now where if they either book it online or book it through a AI agent, the first time that they actually talk to a technician or talk to a person in our company is when the technician shows up
Yep.
or is on the way.
Nice.
Um,
Do
yeah,
you have AI like calling appointment reminder, like 1 hour before calling a person or something? Or
yeah.
just
So
text or email?
those are from ServiceTitan. It's text and email right now, but text
Yeah,
seems to
that's
be
good.
really
That's fine.
appropriate for them. A lot of times the guys are calling the customer on the way to the home because in service
Nice.
it's easy. You click a button in the job to outbound call, and then it's
Nice.
recorded, from there, and it's attached to the job. So then we can see, okay, when was the job booked? When was he on his way? Did he call the customer? All that stuff is just stored in one spot.
Beautiful.
Not that big of a thing.
Yeah. It's a killer system. So your AI agents, your call agents, hand off to your dispatch agent, and then what? There's like routing, map routing, and all that good stuff going on. For
Yeah. So
proper technician to the job and all that.
Dispatch Pro recalculates every 10 minutes to see exactly what the most efficient. It's not just routing, but it's also checking. Let's say that we have a customer call in that has I don't know, they've got a leaky faucet. Dispatch Pro will go ahead and look at that and see who has the highest average ticket on leaky faucet. Because a leaky faucet is something that you could either go in and do the absolute bare minimum and maybe change out a valve or whatever to make sure that it stops leaking.
Right.
Or you can go through the house and say, "Hey, let me inspect everything else. We haven't looked at your water heater.
Right.
Want me to do a free inspection for you?" That kind of thing, and upsell and get
Yep.
higher tickets. Well, Dispatch Pro is going to notice that, and it's going to look at like, okay, who's closest, but then who has the highest average ticket, who has highest close rates, everything else, and then
Wow.
it recalculates your entire dispatch board to figure out what is the most profitable way to organize the dispatch board today.
That's
And so
freaking awesome, man.
yeah, and then if you have a guy that's having a bad week or bad couple of weeks and just not caring, maybe you don't know. Maybe he's got a divorce going on at home and
Right.
things are going okay. His dog just died, whatever else.
Right.
Dispatch Pro is going to give him the easy calls that don't mean a lot until he
Right.
is able to start picking up again. It
That's
doesn't
beautiful.
know why Johnny the technician isn't performing right now.
Right.
It just knows that
He's not performing.
he's not
He's
performing. And Sally happens to be, performing this week. So I'm going to put the calls on Sally because she's doing well. And I'm going to take the calls off Johnny because he's not doing whatever it is.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. How much of your, call agents is AI versus, human CSR now?
Um, right now, it's hard to say. At one point, we were booking like 30% of our calls through AI.
Okay.
I don't it's hard to say how many agents because like AI is just one, right?
Yeah, it can
Um,
answer 200 calls at the same time, yes, yeah.
yeah, yeah. But
Right. One agent, I see what
I
you're
can tell you this, we were supposed to hire 10 CSRs if based on our normal stuff in March, and we just didn't.
mm,
It's like, why do we need that? Because at that point, Damon, the CEO of ServiceTitan, was hustling hard trying to get things set up, and he was able to get us to be booking fully through AI call center agents all day long. Because at first it was just like after hours and whatever.
right, right.
We have an after hours call center in Armenia. They were our employees, and then we trained them, but we added AI to that in case they didn't pick up in 30 seconds.
Nice.
Um, and then we just said, well, they're booking really well, and it got to the point where even the sales guy, our top sales guy, was listening to calls and going, "Wow, they booked it really well." Sales guys always complain about the
Right, exactly.
they didn't ask this, they didn't ask that, they didn't pre-qualify it, whatever.
Right.
And so when it got to the point where he even liked it, we said, "Why don't you just turn it on during the day?" And we did, and all of a sudden now they're taking all day long. And so that was by March, and we said, "Well, do we really need to hire a bunch of CSRs
Nice.
right now?" So
Yeah. Perfect example, harnessing technology.
yeah.
Okay, people in the trades, well, people in every business struggle to move from doing the work to running the business, and you covered that in the book a little bit. What do you cover in the book there, Tom, to help people transition from any kind of business, really, where we're all stuck? Hell, I'm still buried in deep in my business. I can't get out either.
Yeah, I mean, it goes through everything because, like I said, there's no silver bullet to any of this stuff. It goes through talking to employees, incentivizing employees. It goes to, setting budgets and pay plans. It goes to um, utilizing technology. It talks about, dealing with partners and that kind of stuff. It talks a lot about acquisitions because we had to acquire a few companies and what happened there, and then setting a plan and executing it. So it's pretty cool.
How do you find that, let's go roll back. Let's say you're, independent operator, single location, you're running the show, you're out there making service calls. How do you clone yourself, Tom, to get out from the street and running that company?
Um, I don't that's the crazy thing, everyone wants to clone themselves. Um, that's a real problem. I don't think they realize that. It's something that, um how should I put this? I can't tell you how many business owners I've had told me have tell me that I just, he doesn't do it like I do it. She doesn't think like I do.
Yeah,
Doesn't do whatever, like whatever it is.
ego.
And it's ego. And the reality is that you've got to realize, dude, you're at 4 million in revenue. You are not God's gift to air conditioning. Just because they don't do it like you do doesn't mean it's wrong. And so let's just get real here and let's start thinking about the fact that maybe people you hire have better ideas than you do. And the thing is, so what I tell them is like, look, I set parameters, I set a budget. Here's your budget. Go for it. Don't break any laws. Don't do anything unethical. Don't put my people in danger, any safety concerns of any kind. And outside of those three things, hit the budget.
I like it.
Do whatever you got to do. I don't care like what it is. And if you're hitting it, then we're not going to have any discussions. If you're hitting it, you're doing everything ethically and not breaking any laws, and you're not, you know, putting my people in danger because of, safety concerns,
Right.
then who cares?
Yeah. They got their own ideas, their own systems.
I will coach them. I talk to Damon, the CEO of Lee's, all the time. And he'll have a thing that says, "Hey, Tom, I need to talk to you about this." He knows that it's ultimately his call. So he'll ask me. Now, keep in mind his bonus is based on how the company does. So he's got to hit a performance, and he has shares in the company as well as performance incentive shares. So he has to be responsible for his decisions. So I won't make the decision for him, but he'll say, "What do you think?" And I'll say, "Well, I think this." And sometimes he says, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do it." And sometimes he says, "No, I don't think that's a good idea." And we'll argue about it back and forth. But ultimately, he makes the call. And if he makes a call that does not coincide with the things I asked him or I told him I should happen, he might do well, he might not. I don't know.
Right.
But bottom line is budget's his responsibility. So I can't come in and make the decisions for him. He's got to make that decision.
Yeah.
And
I
it
like.
sucks when I was right and he was wrong, but there's just as much chance that he could be right and I was wrong.
Yeah. 100. 100. If it's my way or the highway, then we're blocking out the brain power and
Yeah.
experience of everybody around us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. You talk about sales a lot, closing deals in the book, of course. So what's the number one sales mistake you see most tradespeople making out there? Oh, well, let me back up a little before I go there, Tom. Do you have salespeople in your companies and techs, or do you make your techs become
It's
salespeople?
kind of I mean, in our company, they'll say that we don't have any comfort advisors, that we
You
only
don't have, say again?
comfort advisors, the
Okay.
salespeople.
Yep. Yep.
We only have selling techs. The
Okay.
reality is we have salespeople, they're just
Right.
previous techs.
I like
And
it.
so, um, it's kind of a hybrid, I guess, but the reality is they're showing up in a technician uniform and they're validating if a technician's been out on the job and thinks that, let's say, a compressor's failed when they need a new unit, the tech, they flip it to a selling tech or they flip it to what other people would call a comfort advisor who goes out there, but the comfort advisor is showing up with a truck, with tools, with his
I,
uniform on and validating that it's really a failed compressor and that system does really need to be replaced.
second
It's
opinion.
really reduced our issues we've had with people misdiagnosing and quoting a system replacement. Someone else comes in and says, "Oh, that's not even true. You don't need a new unit. You just need a new whatever capacitor
Nice.
or a new, I don't know, you got a chattering contactor that, is intermittent." And it stops that stuff. So then that's the worst review you can get. They
Yeah. 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 I
I
didn't
didn't
need that thing.
need this
Yes.
and someone else came out and fixed it for $500.
Right.
And now there's gonna be times when that happens anyway because we tell them like, "Hey, it's not failed, but you should probably get it replaced anyway. It's 15 years old or 20 years old and it's
Right.
its way out." But we have to tell them, "Hey, it's a contactor and the contactor is gonna cost you $800 to replace, or you can get a new system." And then if they call someone else out and they do it for $500 and whatever, and the customer gets mad, it's like, "Hey, we told you what the options were. We didn't
Right.
misdiagnose anything."
Right.
I just don't want the ones where we legitimately think it's a, failed compressor or leaking evaporator coil or whatever else, and we quote unit replacement, and then come to find out, you
It
know,
wasn't.
it wasn't.
Yeah, that's great quality control, and, as the homeowner, I would feel good there with that second person coming, not being just a salesperson, being a
Yeah,
tech.
you have the salesperson come, you're on the defensive. It was actually
Yeah,
my sister who
100.
said that, and she's like, "You send out the tech, and what we call them is my manager," which they really are. They lead a team of each selling tech has like 4 or 5 people flipping leads up to them.
Right.
They really do manage that team. And so that manager goes in and says, "Okay, um, this is what it is." And so you get this second opinion on it before
Love it.
committing to spending 20 grand. Our average
Yeah,
ticket is about $26,000 HVAC install.
nice. Nice. Is there a threshold to that kicks in that second person coming out?
Yeah, when they think that they should sell the unit.
A new
Yeah,
unit, basically,
yeah,
unit replacement.
yeah. That we don't do it for a simple, you know,
Yeah,
repair.
yeah, gotcha. Makes sense. Makes sense. What's the, number one sales mistake you see people making out there? Or did we talk about that? We covered that, sorry.
We haven't, yeah. I don't know. I'm not the greatest salesperson. That's funny.
Yeah, me neither.
You realize when you're acquiring companies, it's actually a sales position, and a couple of the salespeople in my company told me like, "You realize you're a salesperson, right?" I said, I don't know. I wasn't a great comfort advisor when I was selling. I was too young and uh, naive and immature. Um, Young people can be great salespeople, but I wasn't one. Um, but no, I think you'd have to have someone else on here to speak better
That's
about
fine.
that.
That's fine. Does your team always present so when you get to a new system, right? Good, better, best, or some kind of variation of that?
Yeah, we try to give several options. What we found, ServiceTitan has the data on it. When you start offering multiple options in the home, typically when we see them turn on estimate templates and start using them, it's like a 15% increase in revenue on average.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're really at that point starting to go, oh my gosh, like that's your average ticket goes up a lot when
Yeah.
you look at, and the best way to do that, if you're on ServiceTitan, build the estimate templates because technicians will always use the path of least resistance. Like
Yep.
we as humans, not just technicians, but as humans, we are naturally lazy. And if all I got to do is click one button and it presents three options, that's easier than filling out a quote,
Right.
a single estimate. I'm going to click the one button every time. And
Hmm.
so when it's easier to leave three options than it is to leave one, they're just going to leave three options.
Yeah.
So
Technology.
just build the estimate template so that they can click that one button and the template shows up and has everything on it that they need.
Put the work in up front, pay off every
Yeah.
single day afterwards.
Yeah.
I like it. And good, better, best, or whatever, presenting options leaves it up to the homeowner instead of feeling like, we're trying to sell one particular system to the homeowner.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so the phone starts ringing, growth is coming, and now what? How do you, what's the biggest keys to now scaling the company and without losing quality?
Yeah, I think that honestly, management at that point, it's an art,
People.
and you got to become an artist.
Mm,
So when you're trying to scale the company, you've got to go through these things and start following these principles. You got to put your ego aside. You have to start doing the fundamentals of business with the budgeting, the planning, the forecasting, the proper incentives. If I have people tell me this all the time, like, oh, they don't think like I do, whatever else I mentioned earlier in the podcast. But one of the things I tell them is like, okay, think about your manager. And so, yeah, he doesn't think like an owner. Okay, let's run with that for a minute. Does he see the financials like an
right.
owner would? And they say, oh, well, no. I mean, if he saw those, he'd think I'm making, millions of dollars a year personal income. I'm like, well, he thinks you're making like 10 million a year personal income.
Right.
I don't know the
Exactly.
truth and realize it's not. Um, Second of all, I said, do they, does he have any training on the financials? So if you saw him, would he understand the financials? Well, no. Like, okay, so you haven't sent him to like a college or anything. I mean, these community colleges have like night classes and things for
Yep.
attorneys. I've even sent some people to Harvard and Stanford and whatever else. They have executive
Wow.
education programs that can go to. Justin Howard at my company went. Sean Sachirin, uh, Catherine Howard, my sister. Tyson Freeman went to Fresno State. Anyway, Sean Sachirin, Catherine, and Justin all went to Stanford. Josue went to Harvard, and they
Great.
did executive education programs, and it's not that cost prohibitive. I mean, one of them went and got a Harvard or a Stanford MBA. That's my sister, but the other ones went to like the executive education program, 16 grand. And it takes a couple weeks, and it's well worth it. And other people like Tyson Freeman went to Fresno State and got his bachelor's in engineering, and the company paid for all of it. And we have that program. Anyway, I asked them, do they understand the financials? They saw them. Oh, well, no, I didn't give them any training. So, okay, do they make more money when the company makes money like an owner would? And they're like, well, no. I'm like, okay, so they don't have the incentive that an owner would have. They don't have the knowledge that an owner would have. They don't see the financials that an owner would have. And you wonder why they're not thinking like an owner.
Yeah.
Ask
Exactly.
yourself that right now. And then they start going, and that's the reality of the situation. You
Yeah.
need to put people in there and then stop pretending like they should act like you when you don't give them all the things that you have.
Right. Right. I like how you said, and it's so true, right? They think you're making a fortune, man. So
Yeah, they
they're
think
your
if you sell a
financial.
$20,000 job that you're taking $10,000 home in your pocket.
Exactly. Exactly. So there's a lot of guys and gals out there who probably think you're crazy for sharing the financials, but that probably would be incentive number. Well, as you just described, if you want them to be all in on the team, they need to have all that knowledge, and have equity positions. You give them at some point incentive for equity positions or profit sharing or something like that.
I have given equity pretty liberally in these. I'm down to about 36% to 40%, depending on we're talking voting shares versus actual shares
Nice.
of the company. And some of those were for acquisitions we did, but a lot of them were for employees. Um, Tommy Mello is another great example. A1 Garage giving
Yeah.
um, uh, performance. Um,
Yeah.
right.
Performance pay.
Um, and I do not recommend it for everyone right away. When you're small, it's really hard to like
Yeah.
know what it's going to look like years from now. But when you're getting ready for sale and you're like, hey, I've got 2 years until I want to sell, I think a lot of times giving those equity incentives makes a lot of sense. Or if you're going to do it early, have equity incentive plans that you give and that like class B shares or whatever that can be revoked if they're not. There's also P units. So
Hmm.
you can look at doing these performance units that basically get you the tax benefits of capital gains tax without having to pay tax up front. There's some things about that. Tommy Mello is actually writing a book about it right now about how to pull that off.
Oh, sweet. Sweet. Yeah, Tommy talks about it in what is Elevate, right?
Yeah,
Performance pay and stuff. And so glad to hear he's writing a book on it. So
yeah.
yeah.
He's writing a book. I'm really familiar with Elevate because I wrote the preface to it, and
Yeah.
but he's writing a book specifically focused on um, stock plans and things for the employees.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's close it up with a couple of last questions here. What was the hardest thing for you along the path, Tom, as you were growing from, a single location to where you're at now? What was the biggest stumbling block along the way?
There's just all kinds of things.
An endless path of them.
Yeah, and it just always happens. And what I tell people is, look, I say, well, does it ever get easier? I said, no, it doesn't. It just because the reality is, if you stay at the same size, it gets easier because you just have the same problems over and over and over again. I hate that. Though I want new problems that I want to
Right.
solve the problems I have right now, and then I want to grow to the next size. And that's what happens when you solve the problems at 5 million revenue, you get to 10 million revenue. But the
Right.
reality is, you have new problems at 10 million revenue that you didn't have at five, and then at 20 million revenue, you have new problems you didn't have at 10.
What's that saying? The obstacle is the path.
Yeah,
Be adjustable.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's close it out with this, Tom. What would you say to somebody who's stuck at a number? I know a couple of guys who are stuck in that 2 to 5 million per year range, and they're having a hard time pivoting out of that. And it seems to be pretty common in that little range, or not little.
Yeah.
If you're
So
doing 1 million a year, you're doing well. But how do they? How do they? What's the thing that'll? Of course, it always varies,
the
but
2 to 5 range is usually that you're not great at management. That's the reality. Like no one wants to look in the mirror and believe they're the problem.
yeah,
But typically, you don't have right incentives for your mid-level manager. You don't have a structure in place that incentivize them to work. A lot of people that get to that stage, they always gotta have processes, gotta have written processes, and then they write these freaking giant processes and put them on a book somewhere and put them on a shelf. It doesn't.
nobody. Oh,
You don't know what you're doing. Your processes should be built so that if you do it wrong, something breaks and it can't be fixed. Like you have to do it right every single time. You have to do it with this process every single time. The Japanese figured out and they call them pokeyokes, Pokeyok is how we say it in English, but it's basically if you look at a plug on the wall, you see one side's tall, one side's short. And so the plug can only go in one way,
right,
can't be flipped around the wrong way. Well,
right,
that's designed to make you do it. You don't have to have a training when you come to your house about how to plug it in right.
right.
And
Nice.
your businesses should be the same thing. You shouldn't have to have a training on every single thing because it should be that this is the only way you can do it. For instance, you know, let's do incentives for the employees. Like, oh, I want to pay an incentive when somebody sells I don't know, somebody sells a premium capacitor because we have standard capacitors and we have turbo 200s or whatever.
Okay.
And then almost every single time, these companies will set up a process where the payroll person has to go check to see who sold Turbo 200 capacitors this month or this week. And it spends literally 20 hours going through this because some manager made a decision one night that he wanted to pay an incentive for a Turbo 200 capacitor. Like, well, Tommy, you're saying that we can't pay incentives like that? No, you can. Just quit doing your dumb process and put your stupid crap away and start doing it differently. Either one, build it so that you have Turbo 200 capacitors signed as a Turbo 200 in ServiceTitan so you can run a report that says, how many Turbo 200 capacitors did I sell this week? Who do they come from? Or number two, if you're not on ServiceTitan, have a form set up that says if you want incentives, in order to get incentives, put it in your compensation plan that says you have to fill out your incentive form. And so then they'll fill out every time they sell a Turbo 200, job number, whatever, and price, and what my incentive is. And then they have to turn that into HR. Well, now HR just has to look, or the payroll person has to check those to make sure they actually sold on the jobs. And that's it. They don't have to search every job. They just search the one that gets turned in. Like, well, what if I forget to turn in my paper? Okay, you don't get paid. And then
Problem solved.
yeah, it's not on me. So guess what? You have to turn in the paper.
Right.
You don't get paid.
Yeah.
We don't have to have a training on
Right.
filling out the paper. We don't have to have a nothing. Guaranteed they're going to do it every single time. Stop putting it on your payroll person to fill out the paper and search every freaking job. And then, by the way, they're going to miss one or two or 10. And then the guy's going to be like, oh my God, they're screwing me. I sold this one and they didn't even pay me for it. Yeah, because we really want to take away your $10 incentive.
Right.
Really
Right.
think on our $100 million a year company,
Yeah.
we were trying to save money by getting rid of your $10 incentive or whatever for selling per Turbo 200 capacitor. No, the reality is the HR person just didn't see it. And now we have to have distrust with the technician. They're angry, whatever else, because of your stupid process that you
Right.
have. Instead, just have them fill it out.
Right. I like it. I
And
like
put
it.
their responsibility. So
Speak those long processes that have all these little hiccups along. Too many room for error. So there's
yeah.
way too much room for error there, and delay and all that good stuff. I
And
should
for
say.
all these bonuses, you can absolutely put it in your compensation plan that says, in order for you to get the bonus, you need to fill out the paperwork. It's different
Yeah.
for hourly pay. There's
Right.
all kinds of laws there, but like for bonus pay, like you need to fill out this one to get this bonus. Whatever.
I
You
like
need
it.
to fill out the sheet and listing off everyone that you sold this week. And then you can both sign it and agree that this is what it was. And then guess what? It's way easier if you get a lawsuit later. That's why I never lost a lawsuit because like all of them are signed off every time. Like this is the pay, this is accurate. Everything else, we spend a ton of time making sure it's right.
I like it. I like it. Beautiful. Good advice. Okay, Tom, what one thing did the terrible host not ask you that would be beneficial to the listeners out there?
Oh, I don't know. I think we've covered a lot of it, but I could talk for hours and hours and hours. Just
You covered a lot.
yeah, don't don't honestly don't focus on. A lot of people do the wrong thing and focusing on being the most popular person at the trade shows or attending every trade show. I
Mhm.
pick 2 or 3 trade shows a year that you're gonna go to, and then go home and implement. Stop going around and trying to get more and more and more ideas. You can get all the ideas you need to make your business better at one trade show
I like it.
and
Right.
or one conference. It's the ones that I see over and over and over again because when I was at 1.6 million in annual revenue with 11 employees, I had certain people I saw at shows, and then I'd see them years and years and years later where I'm doing 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, whatever, and they're still at the same shows at the same revenue, asking the same questions.
Mm,
So, like, guys, going to these shows is not going to just help you absorb things and just magically become a better business person. Take 2 or 3 things at each show, go home and make sure you do 2 or 3 things, focus on them, make sure they get implemented. It's better than going home with 100 ideas and getting none of them implemented.
yeah. Yeah. Good advice. Good advice. That is, we're all guilty of that. Those of us who go to trade shows. Yeah. We're like trying to absorb it all. So good
Yeah.
advice. Pick 1 or 2 classes, go to those. And what are your weak points, right? What do you need help with? And go
Yeah.
pick that.
Just 1 or 2 things that you're going to implement. Leave there with 3 things written down and a date or 2 things written down. It's one thing. I don't care. Just something that you're actually going to implement and you're going to do and say, we're going to do this next week and we're going to make sure it sticks. We're not going to write it in a form and put it in a procedure manual on the wall and no one ever listens to it.
I like it. Same for products you discover at the show, right? Do you let's narrow that down to one or two that we're going to implement also.
100%.
Yeah. Tom, awesome. There will be a link in the description of the podcast or YouTube or wherever you're watching this to the book on Amazon. Where else can people? Well, is there a different place you want them to get the book? Number one, and where
Amazon's
can they?
fine. Barnes and Noble, whatever.
Okay, cool. And
Nothing.
where else can they find you, Tom?
I don't know, lots of places, but yeah, Amazon. I mean, if you don't have Amazon, I think we're or Barnes and Noble. That's yeah.
How about you? If they want to reach out and catch you, where do you LinkedIn? Where do you prefer people find you?
Yeah, if you can send me an email at t.howard, T as in Tom, HOWARD, t.howard at servicetitan.com.
Perfect. Tom, you were awesome as always. Thanks
All
for the
right.
listeners for listening. Thanks for
And
sharing
on Instagram, it's real Tom Howard on Instagram. So,
at Real Tom Howard. Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
I got
Cool.
videos on there. All right. Thank you so much.
You're awesome, Tom. Thank you, sir.
All right. See ya.
Happy whatever it is, Wednesday.
All right. Thanks.
Take care, brother.